Welcome to the Two Beasts podcast, where best friends Chris and Ollie try and figure out this complicated thing we call life. We hope you enjoy. And C. They are all rolling. Okay.
Are these on?
These are on. Yeah, they are on. We turned them on a minute ago. So this is
Well, we put them
officially
on hold.
Hold just means you can't press a button to turn them off.
Noted.
So we are now officially in the first episode
This
of
is
our
episode one,
of
son.
our podcast. Yeah.
Episode one.
What's the podcast called, Ollie?
That's a tricky question.
First of all, I'm Chris. You're Ollie.
I am Ollie, yeah.
Okay, so
Do I want to be Ollie or do I want to be OJ? Let's be Ollie. Be myself.
Yeah, you can be both.
Yeah,
you can be whatever.
We'll be both.
Whatever
Ollie,
you're more
OJ,
comfortable
whatever.
with.
Yeah. Ollie works.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that.
So we decided to start this podcast about 30 minutes ago.
Literally. That's not even like a jokey thing. That's a genuine
That's legit.
30 minutes ago we had this conversation.
We were chit-chatting. It's Sunday. Today is Sunday, the 2nd of July, 2023. And we were just... I came in late last night, so I got up a little bit later than normal. And we were chit-chatting, like, in the morning about stuff, about life. And then Ollie mentioned that he wanted to start his own business of some description. And... we were talking about like different ideas and stuff, weren't we? And then we were just saying why in our 20 odd years of friendship have we never considered doing anything together?
It does. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? It does make you wonder.
It makes me wonder. It does make me wonder. And
was it been 20 years now? Maybe a bit less than that, but in and around that ballpark of 15 to 20 years. Isn't it? And you think of all the stuff we've done, and all the things we've been through together.
I know. And we've never considered, we've never tested our friendship in the gauntlet of business.
We've never tested our friendship fully in a business setting or in like a, in a professional sense.
Yeah. So we are very, very close friends. We are effectively, I mean, Ollie actually has siblings, so he might not be so eager to say this, but for me as an only child, Ollie is effectively as my brother.
No, I'd say that. I'd agree.
I consider him family, and we have now been living together, in fact, in our own place for the last 2 years. 2 years this month.
Yeah, what a time to start a podcast. Look at that.
2 years this month.
2 years to start.
And pretty much the only thing we do in our spare time together besides sort of KFC and trips to CEX is we play Minecraft together on a shared Minecraft realm.
We do that. We do that.
We have a lot of similar interests. We have a lot of interest in fitness, in the fitness space. Mm-hmm. I'm more into the entrepreneurial side than you are at the moment because I'm just in it. I do run my
own business. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah. So I run a video production company. But we have that interest at heart as well. We both kind of want the most we can get out of life. Like I imagine most people. But
I'd like to think it's most people, but most people don't act on it.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people have a lot of things that they want to do, but they don't necessarily have the willpower or the ability to grab life by the balls, as it were, and get the most out of it.
It's interesting that you say the word balls there because we were just setting up. Bear in mind, we've had 30 minutes to prepare this podcast. We really don't. We're
just rambling right now.
We want this to be one of those pure kind of rags to riches stories. If you're listening at this point, then I'm sure that you're going to be able to tell that there's a lot of unprofessionalism going on in terms of this isn't a Rogan setup, is it? This isn't perfect by any means.
Hello, future Ollie.
Our camera over there that is filming Ollie right now actually is on some Tesco Home Office box files.
Quite literally, yeah.
And in fact, if I film this on my phone,
it's also propped up on top of a chair that was built by Chris.
Yeah.
We won't say that he used the instructions. I guess using the instructions would be a loose phrase, wouldn't it? So yeah. That's
yeah,
a pretty dodgy just setup. But
it's just our front room. It's just our front room.
It's literally our
not,
front room.
You know, it's not a podcast studio. It's not a podcast space. We just decided, you know, to get us started on stuff. And we thought we'd have a go at it. And we have set the ambition to do 100 episodes. So this will be something that we can cut back to on our 100th episode and say we did it.
Yeah.
And I don't know we haven't discussed anything like how frequently we're going to try and post these, how frequently we're going to try and record these. We don't know the name of it, like I said at the start. We don't really even know at this point at episode 1 exactly where this will go. We had a rough idea that it's going to be, because we're both into fitness, in our own kind of fields. Ollie, you're into the climbing, I'm into the weightlifting.
Yeah. Much more of a rock climber, so therefore body weight-y type fitness and movement and flexibility and mobility type stuff. But having said that, I do also go to the gym and lift weights and pick heavy stuff up and put it down. As does Chris. So
yeah,
there are crossovers. There's crossovers.
You're insanely talented in your particular field. But our fields are so different as well, because you're on the you got the smaller side. You're on the smaller side. You've got, like you say, it's all body weight strength. Like you would crush me at any kind of calisthenics kind of stuff. Whereas I'm a little bit taller. I'm not that tall, but I'm a little bit taller, 5'10",
as opposed to 5'4". So we're
as opposed to 5'4".
There's 6 inches here, which, as we know, 6 inches makes a difference.
You'd be happy with it's a good cock average of height difference between us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're thinking about going into that. Because we keep saying swear words, we don't want to be like crazy unprofessional, but we also want this to be
every other word's a swear word type thing.
Yeah, we also want it to be relaxed. You know, I'm not really interested in turning this into like a pure commercial piece. There's going to be no sponsors at this point. I guess unless we sponsor it ourselves with our own
Maven Visual sponsors.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Maven Visuals, Chris's own production company.
Yeah. So it could be that we sponsor that, but obviously at the time we're recording this, there are exactly 0 viewers. So we are literally just having fun. But you know, you got to think that maybe we'll do this for 100 episodes time, and maybe there'll be like 10 viewers.
There might be. Yeah.
Maybe there'll be 1,000.
You'd like to think there's at least 10, 20.
But ultimately, we have always said that we bullshit on Minecraft so much. Like when we're both off work, we'll load up the craft and we'll just, you know, mindlessly dig virtual blocks and we'll just chit chat. We'll have discussions about stuff. Sometimes they'll be deep, sometimes they'll not be deep. We'll, you know, role play, do like stupid accents and stuff. And we've always said, like, people are missing out. Like people like us would love to just listen to this, we think. And so now we're putting that theory to a test. Maybe everyone hates it. Maybe we're not that funny. Maybe it's just us.
We just think we're funny together.
Yeah. Which is probably true to a certain degree. But
there's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing it.
But there's got to be more people like us out there. There's got to be more people that are, you know, similar kind of age, similar mindset, trying to, you know, make the most out of life and that share our sense of humor. And so hopefully we can find a couple of those people, if nothing else. So what do you think? What do you think so far? What do you think? How do you see us going in the next sort of 100 episodes? What do you see us?
I think there's going to be quite a lot of development that happens. I think quite quick, because I think we don't like pretending. We don't want to like, you know, pretend that we are immediately a great success, because that's not helpful. And we're also very good at being honest with ourselves in terms of what we know and what we think needs to be better. So I think there's going to be continuous amount of changing going on, but for the better, not just, you know, for the sake of changing things. I think genuinely because we need to, you know, whatever we want to talk about in terms of the topic that we have for that particular episode. And I think that's what after this episode where we've just got the initial ramble out, I think what we can sit down is write up a list of stuff we want to talk about. Or like you said before, like posing a question, you know, because the amount of times someone's posed a question to you and you end up with a conversation that's like, you know, 40 minutes long. You can do that with a random stranger on the street, you know, like, so to do it between us and have some form of familiar topic, that would be quite good, I think. and just like coming up with those topics and sort of variety as well. You know, like you can go from fitness to, you know, from business, from your perspective, life stuff, like funny, comedic stuff. You know, I think that's why, you know, everyone talks about Rogan as being like the godfather of podcasting, and you know, he pretty much is. And the reason for that, I think, is because of variety. And I think he has anyone on that he quite enjoys talking to, whether that's his mate or whether that's some fancy professional or an MMA fighter or a, you know, actor or whatever. You know, I think that variety is key, and that's why people probably come back to him constantly, is that it's just like there's so much. You can listen to him for whatever you want. It's not just a specific like, I'm a, I don't know, football podcast or I'm an MMA podcaster, in which case you're niching yourself in terms of your market. I think for a podcast, when you're having a conversation with someone, you want that to be as open and as, you know, diverse as possible. So
the other thing to consider is that even though we're fairly relaxed at the minute, like this is our most tense state. We're still we are not podcasters.
No.
We've been podcasters for 15 minutes.
So 13 minutes to be precise.
13 minutes of podcast career here.
Yeah.
So, you know, like even now, even though our conversation is quite fluid, we haven't even gone close to the kind of casual, humorous, banterous level. Like when we can have a conversation with this kind of setup, like we were having not 45 minutes before these cameras went up.
Yeah.
That's
relaxation.
got to be entertaining. That's got to be something worth doing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. And like you say, there's got to be like-minded. There has to be, with the amount of people that are in the world, like 8 billion people, whatever it is, there's got to be some like-minded people, right?
Yeah.
You know, similar age or older or younger or whatever, you know. I think that's an important demographic to try and build into. Because we've always said it. We always think that we have something to offer the world. You know, I think that we are very unique in terms of who we are as individuals and our perspective on things. And we've drawn that from many different parallels and many different people. So I think if we can then offer that to the world, not necessarily from like a fame perspective, you know, because the people we listen to, obviously they're quite famous now because of their perspective. But I feel like some people would also like a more grassroots type, down to earth perspective from two people who are just, you know, learning life and sort of just making it up as we go along, you know. It's like
we could be the next cult classic.
Well, yeah, potentially, yeah. But it's, you know, it's like that it's like calculated winging it, basically, is what I like to think we do.
That's true.
You know, so hopefully someone out there enjoys this. And
also there's a lot of, it's going to be very interesting just from a documentation perspective, because we're going to, like you've said a ton of times, the last 12, 18 months for you feel like you've completely turned a corner and become a completely different person. And,
massive, yeah.
And that's probably been the same for me as well. Like it's probably the same for most people. It'd be so interesting to document that in the form of the podcast. Yeah. And then just see, you know, because imagine if you did just one episode a week, and it might be because of our schedules and stuff, it might be that we do 2 or 3 in a day.
Yeah.
Or what have you.
And then roll them out once a week or something so that we've got backlog.
Yeah. But even so, 100 episodes is 2 years.
Yeah.
Just under.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty fucking mental when you think about it. So by the time we actually do that flashback thing, who knows what kind of situation we're in.
2 years is a long time. Oh, yeah.
We might not even make it there.
We might even make it to episode 2.
We might perish.
We could step outside the door and that'd be it.
Yeah.
That would be it.
But I think the main reason we want to do this, like I think most people are starting to get like this as well.
You can probably tell just by listening to that one clip that we're quite in touch with our mortality as well.
Oh yeah. We're okay with death.
Yeah, we know. Okay. Yeah, we know what's coming. There's no hiding that.
We're not fooling ourselves into thinking we're going to live forever.
No. And if you are at home, rethink, because it's coming.
It is coming. And you know the worst part is, there are people out there who are thinking that they're immortal, or not literally, but you know, people who have this kind of idea of, I can do it tomorrow because I'm going to live that long.
It's naivety.
And the thing is, they don't climb walls like you do, like cliffs. Yeah. And they don't go skydiving like I do.
Yeah.
And they'll probably die first.
Yeah.
That's just the way the world is.
Yeah. Yeah, us people that do stupid shit like that.
Yeah, we seem to get away with it.
Yeah, well, somehow we've got 9 lives. Although I say that, now that you've said that, it's one of those things, and it's like, fucking touch some wood, you know? So, yeah, because that will be the last thing that happens.
So I'll go
obviously, we hope that doesn't happen, of course, because then we can't bring you more.
It would be a problem for our 100 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't want to
we don't want to finish at 2, because that's not good.
I don't want to die now until I've done at least 100.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
After that,
yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess.
In my darkest days, I'm going to think, I'm only on episode 40.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Don't die, don't die. You know,
So,
I'll be hanging off a cliff by my fingernails and being like, don't you fall, don't you fall.
How about then we use the rest of this episode? By the way, a couple of different quirks about this. I'm using my video production gear, which is normally used for short form ad content. So only one of our cameras has no record limit. The other two that we have, we've got 3 cameras here. The other 2 have 30-minute record limits. So we're thinking these episodes are going to be about an hour each, at least at this point, which means I'm going to get up every like 28 minutes or so and restart 2 of the cameras, which is a little frustrating. But
we can cut that.
That's just how we're going to live.
We can also use that as a piss break.
We can use it as a wee break.
Yeah, we can use this that for sure. Yeah.
Ollie did his long wee before the start, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The long wee that takes
the nervous long.
The long wee, when you tell your new girlfriend that you're going to the toilet and then you end up in there for 20 minutes kind of thing because you don't want to.
Because you're thinking about life.
Because you're actually doing a poo.
Yeah.
He did that before this. I didn't, so it could still happen to me. It could still happen. It's just scary. But why don't we use the rest of this episode then to just kind of familiarise any prospective future possible listeners that may never come about who we are.
Who we are.
The chances are like we could do this and zero people.
We've got to introduce ourselves, otherwise it's pointless, right?
Yeah. So you begin.
I'll begin. Okay.
Yeah. So who are you? What is it that you do exactly, and what would you like to do with your life?
So I'm Ollie, 25, nearly 26 years old. I am a professional route setter and regional manager for the climbing hangar.
What is that?
So the client, as in the hangar, or
what is route setting?
Okay, so if anyone's done any indoor rock climbing before, any of those plastic holes that you yard your way up the wall with, I put those on the wall. It's my job to strip all those holes off every week, get them washed, put them back on the wall, and put them in a way that is very different to what was on the wall before, right? So it's very creative. It's very it's quite a thing in terms of like a mental. It's mental, physical. It's everything. It's everything in a sense. And the person who taught me actually described it as there's not many art forms where you are curating one's emotional state based off what you have created with your own 2 hands. Like you think about an artist, right? You think about somebody who like paints pictures and stuff. Like that creates an emotional response from people, but not in the same way as a physical interaction with a climb does, right? So like that person isn't physically interacting with that Mona Lisa or whatever. Whereas on a climb, they are. So you've got a physical aspect, an emotional aspect, and a mental aspect, right? There's nothing that I have experienced yet that has generated quite that response. You know, I get people, you know, I could potentially make or break someone's day. If they've had a bad day at work and they come in and climb one of the routes that I've set, and they go, they can't do it and they get shut down, that's gonna make them feel even worse. Or if I set something that they really enjoy and they've done and they can do it, that might like absolutely make their day, you know? So it's quite a burden in the rock climbing scene, and particularly in the indoor scene now, which has become a very different entity from what rock climbing, you know, outdoor rock climbing compared to indoor climbing now. And it's had a huge surge within the past, I don't know, probably like 5 to 10 years of people wanting to get into it because it's an alternative thing to just the gym or, you know, some other type of sport, particularly bouldering. So I don't set anything with like ropes or anything like that. It's just like free climbing basically above crash mats, about 4 meters at its highest. So my job is to put those holes in the wall and create like different shapes and different movements and all sorts of stuff for people to climb on a weekly basis. But then the other side of my job is that being a regional manager, so the company that I work for has sites based all over the country. And me being the southern regional manager, I have to go around and make sure from a setting team perspective that those teams are, they're all right emotionally, they're setting well, like they're enjoying life at the hangar, all of this sort of stuff. I make sure they've got all the holds, all the screws, all the bolts, everything that they need, drills, whatever, PPE. And that for me has been the biggest improvement in my personal life. When you talk about, just now about my 12 months, my job role has really helped that, I think, because it's allowed me to really work with people more closely, and then see how mentalities are different between different individuals and their perspectives on life. And then that's made me think about mine and, all that side of things that people don't really talk about. So, it's been massive, and it's allowed me to grow up quite quick, but in a good way, not as in people going like, "Oh, grow up, man, you've just been a child." It's like, no, this is genuine stuff. So, I'm also a rock climber, so I climb outside, when the weather's nice and it's not horrible. So that's my big passion. I've been on multiple trips abroad to do that. I've also been all over the UK to do that. I also enjoy many other things, surfboarding. Just got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu recently. Longboarding, lots of things. Running,
so the I don't know why there's a light flashing here, troops.
That's never good.
That's freaky, isn't it? Oh, battery's on 3 minutes left. That's why.
Oh, we've only got 6 minutes.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right. Yeah, so your job is, so when you go into like an indoor climbing center and you see, I don't know about anyone listening, but when I first went to an indoor climbing wall, I never figured out that you had to climb the yellow route. That yellow was a certain route.
Stick
and
to a
that red
specific
was
colour.
I used to just go up the wall however I could and just have fun. But the reality is when you go to a climbing wall, there's like a green route, which is say easy, and then a blue route, which is slightly harder, and then a yellow route, slightly harder.
Yeah.
You are basically designing those routes.
Correct, yeah.
And the experience of those routes.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when you were working at the climbing center before, the last thing I ever thought that it was a creative job, because I thought it was just, you coach people how to climb, it's like strength and conditioning kind of thing. I never considered that it would be basically the same level of creativity as what my job is. It's like they're very, very similar.
Yeah.
Like you could have a freelancer that, in the same way that you have a freelancer video producer that goes in, makes a company a video, you can have a freelance route setter that goes in and creates a climbing route for a climbing center. And what I guess I didn't realize the level of creativity that goes into actually constructing the experience of, if you want to get sort of deep and philosophical about it, the climbing route. Like they have a certain, you're taking them, you're challenging them in certain ways. You're choosing, a particular set of movements for them to try and then work out. Kind of like a puzzle, isn't it?
Literally, yeah. I mean, that's why they call them boulder problems. They have a reason, right? And a problem that needs to be solved. Now that can be solved and that's the beauty of climbing, right? Is that it's not just a case of, there's never just one way of getting to the top of that, right? There may be something that we've set in terms of maybe there's a dyno, which is like a jump move, or a twisting move, or something where you use your heel, or whatever it is, or like different types of handholds. There may be one way of doing it for one person, and the way we set it might be one way, but then someone, I've lost count the amount of times I've sat there and watched people come up and do it a completely different way, find it the same difficulty, but because of how that individual is in terms of like their advantages, their disadvantages, how long their arms are, how strong they are, how much technique they have, all of that stuff is very dependent on how they're going to get to the top of that climb, because they're going to use those things in order to get to the top, not necessarily what I'm good at or what someone else has said it's good at, it's what they're good at, right? So in terms of that, it's a very individualized experience, even though the route is the same for everyone, like it's the same holes on the same bit of wall for each individual person that comes and climbs that thing. It's a very different experience, which again, I'm not sure I can think of any other type of thing that would come close to that from a physical perspective. From an emotional and mental perspective, I could see that being similar to your job in terms of like your videography, right, with like your wedding films. So people would have a very different experience mentally and emotionally depending on who they are and which video they've watched and You know, obviously if it's because yours is quite personal to each couple, they obviously feel a different way towards it. And I guess that's very similar to the climbing routes in that but the difference is that the climbing route isn't changing, the person's changing, whereas yours is like very specific to that person. So, it's quite an in-depth thing, more than people I think give it credit for, which they just sort of see us going in and putting plastic on the wall and then doing one, you know.
Yeah, it's a little bit, and we're gonna stop in just a second, very briefly, to do the cameras
Piss
because
break.
Even our one that has an infinite recording limit is about to run out of battery because I was stupid and I didn't look at it. But I did realise that this would be a great place for ad breaks.
Would be a good place for ad breaks.
When we get our sponsorship deal. Just we would go around, change the cameras.
We can have a Maven Visuals ad break.
Yeah. What's up, you winners? Thank you for listening to the Two Beasts podcast so far. Just to let you know, this podcast is sponsored by Maven Visuals Ltd. Maven Visuals is the go-to for video production here in the southwest of England. So if your business needs fresh, engaging video content that will be sure to bring new sales into your company, then don't hesitate to get in touch at www.mavenvisuals.com. Back to the podcast. Right. As I was saying, it's kind of like...
We're back, by the way.
We're back. Welcome back. Ollie's went and put his beast in a cage.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
That's back in the old trouser pocket.
So what I was going to say was, when you talk about the roots being kind of like, you set it so that they have an intended way of doing it. Like to your mind.
To my mind, there's a way of doing it, right, that I have found to be the easiest.
So it's kind of like when speedrunners break games.
Correct, yeah.
Like the developer has, you should go here, you should do this, and you do this.
Yeah.
But then speedrunners just say, I'm just going to glitch through that wall because you've left.
But do speedrunners have like different ways do they all do the same thing? Or do they have different ways of doing it? I guess there's one definitive way that is the fastest.
I guess ultimately it starts off with people find their own ways of doing stuff, and then they sort of, over time, there becomes a meta strategy.
Yeah.
Like the best way.
So that's very similar.
Yeah.
It's very similar. Everyone has their own individual way, but as it gets more and more, like the more and more people that try that climb, the more likely there is that one way will be the easiest for the majority of people.
Yeah.
You know.
So in some ways it's kind of like a collaborative project.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, and that's the beauty of climbing and the beauty of bouldering in particular, because it's very low level. You're not like on a rope, which feels a bit more sort of personal to that, what like the one person is trying it, and then you come down and you talk about it. But because bouldering's so short and it takes like, you know, you have more tries within, because it's so much shorter, you have more tries on that go. You get a lot of people sat around and talking to each other and talking through beta and all that sort of stuff, and the community aspect of it is really good too. So yeah, it's a great thing for people to get involved with, I would say.
Yeah, you think like you just think about that for a second. You build, let's say, just take one route that you build. Let's say like one yellow route that you build. Then a group of friends go and try and challenge themselves on that route. Maybe they all find it kind of hard. One break, maybe they spend an hour that day trying to do it. None of them can get it. They come back, they try it again. One of them gets it. They all feel that joy. Then the other one gets it. And then the next week they come back and then they're all trying to like improve on that route. I worked out that if you do this, this is easier. And you think that's like one group of friends. So that's like, say they all spent overall total an hour each on that entire project while it was up, before you take it down, rebuild it.
Yeah.
Say there's 3 friends, so that's 3 hours of joy, 3 hours of entertainment, and then imagine all the people that come through that climbing centre during the time that route's active, all of those groups of friends that do it. Like every single route that you put up, and you put up like a few.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost count. I mean, I probably set like, I don't know, 5 or 6 problems a day, so 4 days a week. You do the math, like over, the past, I don't know, 8 years that I've been doing it, nearly a decade at this point. Yeah.
Just think about how much activity you've...
It's a lot. It's a lot of and again, that's what I mean. So like, people go and see paintings and people go listen to music and they do all that, but they don't interact with it in the same way, right? Because there's not that physical element. Whereas climbing has physical, mental, and emotional. It's got all three. It hasn't just got like mental and emotional. It's got that physical aspect, which I think is really important. And that struggle and that that problem solving element is massive for people in their actual personal lives. I think it teaches people a lot, especially kids as well. Like you see a lot of kids come through, and I think kids that climb versus kids that don't climb, like I know a lot of them, and they're completely different. They're so much better mentally. They're so much better in terms of like when they then grow up. They're a lot more mature. They understand things a lot better. They understand life a lot better. So yeah.
Well, it's anything that's like it's overcoming any kind of challenge, isn't it? Because the amount of times you think from a kid's perspective, what that kid is learning, he doesn't necessarily get it the first time, so he learns how to take an L, he learns how to take the defeat.
Yeah.
And he has to go home feeling shitty because, he didn't get the route there. He wanted 5 more minutes, but his mum wouldn't let him, so now he can't do it.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, then when he gets it, that euphoria, but then also that lasting message of next time he hits an obstacle that he thinks he can't overcome, he remembers that last time when, I just went back and back, and then eventually I got it.
Eventually it went.
And knowing that, having that kind of pattern of thought in your brain, obviously whenever you come across a massively new obstacle, that doubt comes back again. But ultimately, after a while, you've gone through so many of those kind of trials and tribulations where you go, this is a problem, I'll figure it out eventually, It's like, so yeah. I can see why that climbing is. It's one vessel, isn't it? There's loads of ways kids can do that.
Yeah.
MMA or boxing, or for me it was golf and skateboarding. When I was a kid, it was skateboarding.
Yeah.
Like that you would try a trick.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of things with skateboarding where the same thing. You'd go away feeling disappointed because you didn't do it. You'd finally get it, and then you'd know in the future that, okay, I can't do this trick, but I thought that about the last trick too, and I managed to get that one. So.
Yeah.
In theory, I should be able to get this one too. Mm-hmm. But also with skateboarding and with climbing and with any kind of sports, I think there is an element of it where you realise that I could do this right now if I just wasn't being a pussy about it.
Yeah. Or if you just like focused your mind a bit harder, Yeah.
We went skateboarding it was like your first proper time skateboarding last year.
Yeah.
And you were learning how to drop in on a ramp.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know what dropping in is, you like at the edge of a quarter pipe. It's hard to explain actually with words. But yeah, just YouTube, dropping in on a ramp.
Imagine your classic skateboarding ramp sort of does this. It's basically like dropping in on one of those, right? So it's like.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say. So imagine people aren't watching the video.
Oh, they're just listening?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that
it's hard to
watching.
But all right, so imagine Tony Hawk. You've seen Tony Hawk on the big ramp that he goes on, and he flies up one side, comes down, flies up the other. Imagine then, like all it was just how he started that. Like just dropping in is just how you start that process.
Going from the flat top and then into the curve ramp.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically,
I think we've done it. I think we've done it. If you don't get it now,
YouTube it.
Just
watch your video. Just YouTube it.
I apologise.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you were learning that, and that was the same thing. It's not like your balance was off. That wasn't even a challenge of, I tried, but I couldn't get it yet because I need to grow as a person. It was literally just you need to stop being a pussy and commit.
Yeah, pretty much.
And just drop in, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, just get on with it.
And the more relaxed and confident you were your ability to do that, the less likely you're going to come
it's
off.
that fear, isn't it? It's the fear of failing and the fear of especially with skateboarding or something like that. It's like hurting yourself or whatever. Like that's a huge thing, and that's what puts a lot of people off from doing a lot of things in life. Is that fear of either failure or hurting themselves or. Whatever it is. I think I had that thing where I just went confidence as I went off the ramp, and that helped quite a lot.
He still did that this year. We went back.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
But for a while, every time he went to drop in on the ramp, he would have to do this ritual of saying
it was like a ritual. Yeah.
Confidence.
Yeah. And then he would go in that voice,
and then he would slam down the board just far unnecessarily harder than he needed to, but. He just.
But doing something like that and having a mantra that allows you to just channel that confidence and that focus into it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what you need.
Steve O talks about he's never backed out of a countdown. Really? some people hate them, don't they? They 3, 2, 1, go.
And then he goes.
But that's his thing. He's like, I have never backed out of one of those.
Yeah.
So I know that once that countdown goes, I'm actually going to do it.
That's a good idea.
But then he'll procrastinate presumably I think he said this, or I might just be making this up or making a presumption, that he then procrastinates on the countdown because he knows.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He knows the countdown means it's all over.
Yeah.
So then he just procrastinates the countdown.
On the countdown, yeah.
Which I do that too. Like I have this thing with. It all started when I was a little lying shitbag when I was a kid, but I needed my friends to be able to trust me still. So I decided to make the word promise sacred. Like I would never break a promise.
Yeah. And
to this day, the only time I've broken a promise is like by accident. You know, like 'cause I made a bad promise, something like that. But that's the kind of the same thing. Like people ask me to promise stuff, and I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And it totally gives my game away.
Yeah.
Like people who know that that's a sacred thing for me, they just use that as a tool to.
Yeah.
Are you really going to do this?
Yeah.
Do you promise? It's like.
Oh, I
can't promise. God damn it, the whole game's up.
Yeah, now I'm going to have to do it because I promised them that I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's it, man.
I promise I will try.
Yeah, that's all you can do, isn't it? All you can do is try at least, you know. So go on then, let's flip it on its head then, and you tell the good people what you're about.
Yeah, I'm a video producer. Make videos for a living. I do. It's a healthy mix of sort of short form ad content for companies, and then also wedding films. Wedding films. It's funny because it was like 90% weddings for a long time, and in fact it was 90% what we call associate shooting. So shooting on behalf of another wedding company. It wasn't like necessarily my own weddings. I did have some of those, but like I said, it was like 90-10. Like 90% for other people, 10% of my own. And then last year, I really wanted to flip that on its head, and do 90% my own, 10% associates, because with associate shooting, you'd never meet the couple beforehand. You never really get to connect with them in that way, and it's basically just a roulette toss of. It's a coin toss of whether or not you're going to like them. You show up, and if you don't agree on certain things, or you're not like compatible people, then the day kind of falls flat. On the other hand, some of my best couples that I've ever had that I'm still friends with now were associate shoots that I had no idea that I was going to, whether I was going to like them or not.
Yeah.
That said, I flipped that. Probably, I've done quite a good job. It's probably more like 60-40. I still do 40% associate shoots. But then the corporate side, again, it was like 60-40 again. So like 60% of it's weddings, and then 40% of it's kind of corporate stuff. And I really want to flip that as well, because the corporate stuff is more likely to have something high energy or something explosive. I mean, weddings, it can get really cool if they have like fireworks or whatever, but once you've seen one fireworks show, you've seen them all.
Kind of the same,
thing. Yeah. It's not like fireworks don't inherently excite me, whereas with the corporate stuff, we just did a shoot with one client that does the clothing for like the military and the police and all that. So now we're doing all these shoots based around, having ex-squaddies or current serving members, actually squaddies, going around room clearing, and we're filming that. And that's just way more exciting, way more explosive, way more action-packed. I'm a bit of an adventurous kind of guy as well, like qualified skydiver as of August last year or October last year. Love kind of like off-roading, though I've only ever done that a couple of times, but I'd love to do it more. Climbing a little bit. I'm way more of a casual climber than you. I'm definitely a cash.
Casual.
Yeah, but so like the corporate stuff, I think, is where a lot more of the stuff I'm actually passionate about lies. Weddings are just a really good time. Everyone's off. One thing I really love doing is like meeting new people and being around groups of new people and all that kind of stuff. I used to be really, really introverted. Now I just feel the complete opposite. I love being around. I'm still like to keep myself to myself. Wouldn't go as far to say I'm extroverted, because honestly, I think extroverts most of the time is just a funny word for like a knob. I think there's something about extroversion that
too far. It's like too far, isn't it?
It's like, what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like there's like validation needed there, I think, when they go around and they need to be liked by people. I don't necessarily need to be liked, but I enjoy being around people and enjoy getting along with them.
Yeah, the extrovert thing's more like if you're like fully extrovert, and I guess it's a scale, isn't it, right? You never want to be like fully at one end or fully at the other. You always want to be like somewhere in between. Well, I feel like that anyway, right? So in that sense, the extroverted thing's like you're trying to overcompensate for something. Like you know, it would seem to a lot of people that you would have a lot of confidence in yourself and that you have high self-esteem and all that, but actually you're just using that sort of extravagance and that like, you know, big like, whoa, look at me, I'm here, you know, type thing as like okay, maybe you don't actually have. Whereas the introversion's obviously the complete opposite of that, isn't it? You like shell away, you don't talk to anyone, you keep yourself to yourself, all the rest of it. Whereas like everything, it's like life with a balance, isn't it? Life is so much better when it's balanced. So you have to just make sure you take bits from each and make sure there is actual an underlying self-confidence and self-esteem. And
I think what it is the other thing I don't like about extroversion is, to me, it seems like you go along with the crowd a bit more. Whereas I'm not. Well,
like you said, it's what you want people to like you, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's a big thing. I think in today's nowadays in particular, with like social media and you know Instagram and so Facebook and all that, and just about likes and people wanting people to like them and all that. It's pretty big, isn't it, in terms of the world.
So I guess I'm an introvert that realised that people were going to be vital to life, and so I had to just kind of suck it up and learn how to speak to them. And then once I got to a point where I could go into a room with 100 people that I didn't know and make friends, it actually is quite fun. I actually do quite enjoy doing that, like playing that game almost. It's like once you start recognising patterns of behaviour, like with weddings, you go in and, you know, certain people are always nervous, and then you know that you can try certain things, say certain things and make them feel better. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It gets to a point where you kind of, people have the same responses to stuff and you notice those same patterns. So it's not scary anymore when someone doesn't initially like you or gets weird with you or, you know, is shy or uncomfortable, because you kind of know, you've recognised it before, and then you just try putting antidotes to it. A bit like a mechanic, you know, like fixing a car. You just figure out, first of all, you got to figure out what the problem is. And then once you do, you can just keep trying tools until it works.
So would you say that, and I know you haven't done a lot of like the corporate stuff, would you say that the wedding films or the weddings in particular have improved you the most as a person? Like, have you learned the most about yourself through that?
No, I think the corporate stuff has, to be honest, because the corporate stuff, you have to work more closely with people. And actually, the corporate stuff, I always think I haven't done much of it. We've done a lot of projects like over the last 4 or 5 years. There's been a lot, when you actually count them up. I know, because weddings are like every week and we've done like, you know, a couple hundred of them or whatever, then it feels like the weddings, you know, we haven't got a couple hundred corporate clients. But also weddings are one and done, whereas the corporate clients,
it's reoccurring.
You're working with for a long time. And like that, the one client is is a local education body, and we've done 105 videos for them or something like that. So it's like there's a lot more. You have to speak to less people to a certain degree, but you have to be way more. You have to build a better connection with them. Like a more longevitous connection, if that is a.
Especially if you want the reoccurring jobs, right? Like,
and you do want the reoccurring jobs, not just because the fact that it's safe money and you can get on a retainer, but because then you actually have a shot of making a difference. Like anything, if you go to the gym once, you're not going to get muscles. If you go to the climbing center once, you're not going to become a pro climber. If you just do one project-based video, your marketing campaign isn't going to just revolutionize and just change overnight. I don't care how good a marketer you are. You can't just have one video and that be that.
It's that variety again, isn't it?
And also the other thing with the corporate side is when it comes to like B2C, like the wedding stuff, if the couple get their film and they love it, which has happened 100% of the time so far, then that's great. They are right. It's their decision at the end of the day. They are the final consumer. So if they're happy with it, we've ticked the box. In the corporate world, if the marketer is happy, if the marketing team is happy with the video you've made, and you're happy with the video you've made, it doesn't mean anything, because it still hasn't been given to the people decide it. So the one-off project-based stuff, that's why we've been trying to really figure out how we can make it like affordable and easy to work with us long term, because even when everyone in the team behind the video is happy with it, it still has to go through the ringer of the actual customer. We still have to like make adjustments based on what we see customer feedback being, whether or not it's getting clicks, whether or not it's getting, engagement, all that kind of stuff. Whether or not people are actually watching it all the way through. Is there a certain point where they watch up to here and it just drops off? What happened there? So there's always got to be that element of it, which I think excites me. It's more rewarding to a certain degree with the corporate side because it's a bigger mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like the fact that everyone gets drunk at weddings and everyone's laid back and they don't really care what you do.
Yeah.
Because come 8 o'clock, you can just take a bit of wedding cake, no one notices.
Yeah, you let them crack on.
And I do.
Yeah.
I take wedding cake.
Yeah.
But whenever I steal something at a wedding, I always offer some to either the DJ or the photographer first. That's my rule. So like I sometimes feel guilty about taking a bit of cake, even though the bride and groom would just absolutely be happy with me.
Yeah.
It's cake for everyone.
Yeah, you like someone to join in with you. That's what I'm saying.
But what I do is the first bit of cake I steal, sometimes first, sometimes second. If I'll pick up a bit of cake and then I'll go to the DJ. I'll be like, "Here, you are, Chief. You want this?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, thanks, man." And now I feel justified in my own theft.
By offering it to other people. I like it, yeah. Just get other people to join in your little circle.
Yeah, same with
Your
sweetie
little thief
jars.
circle. Yeah.
Same with sweetie jars. Same with any kind of pick and mix type of scenario. Yeah, it's okay. If you're stealing from other people, it's okay.
Yeah. So you're like the Robin Hood of weddings, basically.
I'm the Robin Hood of weddings, yeah. He's stuck on a DJ booth. I'm going to help him out. And in return, he might put on a song I like.
Yeah. If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Unless you bring in some cake that he's like allergic to and then he has an allergic reaction.
Yeah, sometimes he's saying no, and then I think, like, what did I go through this struggle for? I worked so hard.
Yeah, you work so hard to walk over to a table and nick a bit of cake. And he's just turning that down. You just can't win. You can't win.
You can't win with everyone, but that is the thing of it.
Some people are just ungrateful when it comes to cake.
They are, yeah. People get funny about it.
They do.
People get funny about, especially when I've like not introduced myself to him yet. I just walk up and say,
you just walk up and you're just this cake person.
What bit of cake, mate?
Yeah. Oh, where did you get that from?
Oh, hello, here comes Cake Boy.
Yeah, hold on a minute.
Cake Boy's
I thought
in.
he was supposed to be a photographer and he's now giving me cake.
That Cake Boy's nicked a camera.
Yeah. Nobody knows which way around it is.
So what are we going to call ourselves?
That's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you don't want it to be like, I mean, the classic thing would be two lads, 3 cameras, but that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting that
2 men, 3 cameras.
It's interesting that you say that because you've recently just changed your Instagram handle back to
I have, yeah.
East in the West. Now, this is going to make no sense to anybody, but Ollie's Instagram handle for years, I think from when you first launched Instagram, right?
It was, yeah.
It was at Beast in the West.
Yeah. One line, no underscores or dots.
Yeah, none of that
solid
nonsense.
Yeah.
Which to me was, a great handle because it seemed like if someone ever wanted to start some kind of personal brand,
that's a good place to start.
it's a solid enough username.
Yeah.
Then, like, this mad thing occurred where Ollie just lost his mind and he changed it to oj.the_juice.
I managed to get rid of the underscore though, so it's now
He did
just
manage to get rid of the underscore.
Yeah.
He didn't want to at first because when he first changed it, I was like, what are you doing? Like, Ollie's got fan pages. Ollie's got Beast in the West fan.
Yeah.
And then he just changed it to oj.the_juice. And it upset me for days. And then he managed to change it to oj.thejuice, which still just made absolutely zero sense to me.
Yeah.
Just moved on. Because
I'll give you a bit of, before you go on, I'll give you a bit of a background for that. Basically, everybody at work calls me OJ, right, instead of Ollie. That's my initials. Reason being is that the first centre I worked at, there was another Ollie. So to distinguish between the two of us, I became OJ.
Like the killer?
Yeah. No, not like that.
Oh, okay.
Not like him. No. Not like the famous NFL football player. Not like that.
Okay.
But within that then spawned many, many nicknames. And the Juice has been one of the recent ones. And I thought, well, it's quite a funny name and it's quite cool and it's what people call me and it's what more people know me as in the climbing scene. So I thought I'd change it. But having thought about it now and having thought about coming up with this business idea and thinking about, a way to brand something, that was a way better option, was to switch back to the the OG and have Beast in the West, because that's. I mean, it's kind of who I am. I mean, I'm not a beast, but I mean, I guess I'm like a good climber or whatever.
I think you're a beast.
I guess I'm a beast.
I can
in my
see
own
why
right.
you wouldn't want to necessarily call yourself that. Like, that's something that you wait to be called rather than call yourself that. But still,
Yeah, I mean, I've been called that. People have called me that.
I don't think that. The main thing for me was just it didn't have the punctuation in it.
Yeah, and I think that's quite an interesting thing, isn't it? I think when you're searching for people on Instagram and you're trying to grow a brand and you want to be known, you look at all of the famous, like brands, like, not going to name all of them, but, they're all just their name, or one letter, or,
I can see Beast in the West. Like, I'm not saying Beast in the West is the best username ever, but
it's a start.
I'm saying that I can see Beast in the West being a verified, famous 1 million follower account before I can see OJ. _ the
Yeah, well, that's it,
juice.
isn't it? It's those extra bits in it that make it harder for people to find you. Whereas if you just one tag handle that's just like bang, all words, no spaces, no nothing.
Yeah.
As soon as you start typing it in, it comes up. You don't have to be specific with, what you've got, and it's easy to remember.
But even with OJ the Juice, if you could do it without any punctuation, you'd only get vitamin D fans.
C, mate, not D.
Yeah, that's what I sasaid.
No, you didn't. You said
vitamin
vitamin
D.
D.
No, it's all on cameras.
Vitamin D. yeah, you said vitamin D. You mean vitamin C?
I thought vitamin D was in orange juice. It's vitamin C.
Vitamin D comes from the sun, mate. It's a different orange.
Different orange.
It was orange in the sky. It was orange. It was orange. But it's the orange in the sky, not on the forest of a tree, right?
I know there's someone listening to this who was like, it's vitamin C. Yeah. Someone else did it.
Yeah.
Someone else did it.
Yeah.
So, me and you. Yeah. Me and you, whoever that
vitamin
person is.
C, man. It's all about vitamin C.
Yeah,
I was actually hoping that I was going to get like a sponsorship from like Tropicana or, like Innocent.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen, was it? Because you had that full stop in a way.
Yeah. See?
Where were we going with that beforehand? So I was saying that you changed it back to Beast in the West. Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about names of this podcast, right?
Names.
Yeah.
So.
You need like Alpha Brain or something to keep us going.
You're Beast in the West.
Yeah.
I have nobody has called me a beast before. I do not earn the title.
Yeah.
But the only name that I've come up with so far is Two Beasts.
Two beasts or not two beasts? That is the question.
There is plenty of jokes.
There's plenty of questions. Two beasts.
That's one. Two beasts. But is that too...
on the nose?
Not too on the nose, but is it too like... when people actually listen to the podcast, they're like, who the f***
I listen to the Two Beast podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of works.
It sounds
it
nice.
Does kind of work.
I just don't know if it's like... Two Beasts. That's a big claim to make. It's a big claim to make. Do I feel like a beast enough to be part of a podcast called Two Beasts?
It's one of those.
Maybe it could be like we're not saying that we are beasts now. It's that we're on the journey of becoming beasts. Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not saying that we are.
The journey of two beasts.
Yeah.
Two future beasts.
Like anything, if you say it enough, it becomes true, right? It's that law of attraction.
Yeah.
So the more you say it, the more it becomes true.
And then our community could be fellow beasts. Like they're also beasts.
I feel like Eddie Hall might have something to do with this because he's big love the beast, isn't he?
I don't... Yeah, he is the beast, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't...
Maybe he could become part of the collective, who knows?
I'm not the hugest fan of Eddie Hall, to be honest.
Oh, wow, there we go.
Like, I'm not... I think we've talked about this before. Eddie Hall's not like... I don't dislike him, and if I met him, I'd be respectful. It's not like I don't feel that... I would absolutely say stuff now, and then when I meet him, be completely different. So I'm not saying I dislike him, I just... I think the problem I have with Eddie Hall is that I know people who are really into Eddie Hall, and they're absolute pricks. Like in the gym when they think that they're Eddie Hall and they slam weights around and they take their sniffy spray and they're just fat.
So you mean that people that are trying to be him? Basically?
Yeah.
Not him himself.
I haven't watched enough of his content. The only content I've seen of him recently is like, first of all, I think his like vlog stuff. I'm not interested in it. It's like, it's too like unprofessionally edited. I'm pretty sure they just do it in house or whatever. So it's not that exciting. Ooh. We'll be back in a second with
the next round.
Here's a message from our sponsors. Hello there, champions. Hey, are you getting married soon? Or do you know somebody that's getting married soon? So outside of this podcast, I am a wedding videographer full-time, and Maven Visuals Wedding Films is my company and also the sponsors of today's podcast. So if you want that guy from that podcast to come and actually film your wedding for you, then all you have to do is visit www.mavenvisualsweddingfilms.com. And if you mention that you're a Two Beasts listener in the consultation, then you will get 10% off whatever package you choose. All right, see you then. Back to the podcast. Right, there you go. There's our outbreak out of the way.
We're back.
What I was saying with Eddie Hall was the only videos, like his vlog stuff, I just found boring when I watched it. Like at least the video I watched was boring. It might have got better now. It might have been like when everyone starts.
I watched
somewhere.
some recent stuff. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it's like this, but like who are we just like we're just doing this podcast right now with like a camera on a fucking
Tesco box file.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
with some sticky notes pointing it downwards. That's the other thing we forgot to mention.
That is true. Yeah,
that camera that you're looking at me from is being pointed at me via some sticky notes that are behind it.
Not a whole pack. Just
half.
No, I used the perfect amount of sticky notes to get the perfect elevation.
Behind that camera, there's just a wall of sticky notes that Chris had to take off.
No. No, I just flapped it up. I'm not wasting sticky notes, mate. We're in the early days. We're in the lean years. I can't be wasting stickies.
We can't be wasting money. But the thing that I like about him is the stuff that he's done, like his physical accolades and his achievements.
Oh, absolutely.
Second to none.
Yeah,
like
completely.
He is certified beast.
Don't let me disrespect Eddie Hall on the very first episode of our
I'm just trying to bring it back.
All I'm saying is the only videos I've seen from him outside of his like incredible lifts, which are absolutely
unbelievable,
unmatched.
Yeah.
I've seen an interview on this morning which I really enjoyed, where I thought he was cool, where he bent a frying pan.
Yeah.
Then I saw the vlogs, which I just didn't really have an opinion on because I didn't watch them.
Yeah.
And then him getting arrested by the police, which I thought was a little cringe. I thought the police thing was a little bit cringe. He's like saying like, "Have you got anything in your pocket?" He was like, "Yeah, my cock." You know, it's like, come on, mate.
It's one of those entertainment. It's an entertainment.
It is, but it's like low brow. Like, come on, Eddie, you're better than this. You know?
Yeah.
And then when I see some of the people he's inspired, like in my local life. One person in particular I'm thinking of right now. I think you know who it is.
I know who it is. Yeah.
It's just an absolute cock.
Yeah.
And he's got like all the Eddie Hall branding on him, like all the merch. He's got his little smelling salts, and he, and then he picks out and he does like half a rep, and you're just like, come on, brother. You weigh like 3 times the amount of me, and you're lifting like 20 kilos more, and you're making an absolute song and dance of it.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a funny one, isn't it? That.
So that's my frustration with Eddie Hall. That's why that's
not even really with him.
No. I think so.
The people that follow.
I'm willing to give Eddie a chance. I would explain this to him.
Yeah.
If I met him, I would say, imagine this blows up and we have a good podcast. I would actually invite him on.
Yeah, me too.
And I would say, listen,
he'd be a great laugh to talk to.
If he did come on, I'd be like, listen, this is what I said.
Yeah.
Please don't crush me.
Please don't bend me like a frying pan.
Yeah, because unlike your Satan spawn of a fan base, I actually think you could beat me up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, his lifts are incredible. Absolutely. We talk about it all the time about his deadlift. His 500-pound deadlift, and it's not his mentality to get that.
His knowledge of the strength game as well. Obviously, he's unmatched. But my point is that was all a defense and a justification of why us being called Two Beasts.
Yes.
Wouldn't be a thing. Like it wouldn't be us trying to be like him. No. So I actually am not all that.
I mean, we could be super basic and just call it the Chris and Ollie podcast, but that would be a bit too on the nose.
I think Two Beasts.
Two Beasts is pretty good.
I think that's got a solid merch line as well.
It has got a solid merch line.
And I like the idea of finding a community. If we're going to spend 100 episodes doing this, I really like the idea of using that time to find a community of fellow beasts.
Yeah.
So that we can all take on the world together.
Yeah.
Because the world's getting mad.
The world is getting mad.
And we can't do it on our own.
No.
There's no way we can do it on our own.
No.
This podcast wouldn't have been half as interesting, if it was interesting at all, with just one of us.
No. I mean, one of us talking to a camera, we can only do so much, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if there's two of you, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, we're not webcam girls.
No.
We need more than one person on camera.
Yeah.
To make it exciting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The double act is the key.
I like the idea of that, and I like that it came to me naturally.
Yeah.
Whether or not we find it cringe later on,
we can change it as we go along, right?
Who knows? We can change it.
Yeah.
But I think Two Beasts. And I also think it's going to grab the attention because remember at the very early stages, the only people that are going to know about this podcast are our family and friends.
Yeah.
So when we start saying, "Oh, we've started a podcast called Two Beasts," people are going to be like, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
But they can continue to say that. They can continue to laugh, and
And
they will.
And
that's
for now,
fine.
that's fine. They're right.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, literally,
absolutely
yeah,
spot on.
100%. Yeah. I mean, this is episode 1, right? So
Listen,
like,
I'm not going
gonna-
to sugarcoat it for you. We are 2 lads sat in our front room filming ourselves with 3 professional grade cameras for absolutely no reason right now.
Yeah.
That is what we are doing, yes.
No underlying topic whatsoever.
There's
We've
no
just been sat here
rhyme or
chatting
reason.
shit for the past hour to you lot. So
Absolutely.
You're welcome. We aim to please.
But with that, I think we've done about an hour. It might be slightly more, it might be slightly less.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much for, thank you very, very much for agreeing to do this with me. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. I'm psyched to continue doing these, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think this is the beginning.
This is the beginning. So like, I'm sure people have watched first episodes of podcasts before. It seems to me like they always are a bit rambly, always a bit kind of, here's what our plans are. Roughly speaking, you can expect talks of fitness, talks of life, experiences. Mindset. Basically, we're trying to be better all the time. And we are now going to document that journey. Some stuff we're going to say, hopefully, that makes you go, yeah, they're right. And some stuff you're going to say, and we're going to say, you're going to know more about it than us. And you're going to say, haha, look at these sorry, poor men who know nothing what they're talking about and acting like they are experts in the subject matter.
I mean, we do know nothing, right?
We do know nothing.
Everybody knows nothing. Human beings know nothing.
But there is a very good chance.
To quote the Hodge twins back a few years ago, this is going to be our unlicensed professional advice.
Yes. We got to think about all the guests we want to aim for as well.
That's another,
I want the Hodge twins on.
That would be good. The Hodge twins would be hilarious to sit down and talk to.
Who else now? Because we can think about this now in episode 1, and then when we pitch it to them later on, when we've actually got,
we can
if
say
we actually
in
get to the
episode
point
1
where it makes sense for us to pitch them.
Yeah.
We can say, hey, look, in episode 1 we said we'd want you on. Hodge twins for sure. Eddie Hall just because of that conversation a minute ago.
And just because I want to talk to him because I think it'd be great.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, I've got a few climbing people that I'd like to have on.
That'd be great.
I think, that I can probably think of. That would be quite cool. And even not even like big time. Like I'm thinking like even sort of local and people that I am friends with and can bring on.
I mean, I think getting guests on seems to be a great.
Do you know what I think would be a great guest? Your dad.
That would be good. That
would be a good start.
I feel like we should save that one though. I don't think you throw.
No, maybe save that for. Maybe that can be 100. Maybe your dad can be the 100th.
I don't know. I think we can.
Or do we need to go further?
No. That's 2 years' time. He's an old man now. He'll be getting too old by then.
Bless him. Yeah. He's still repping in the gym though.
He's 50. He's coming up 50.
He's
not that
repping in the
old.
gym. He's no slouch.
No, he's not.
There's 50-year-olds that look a hell of a lot worse.
I think he can be on the podcast when he benches 140.
Oh, that's a good goal. That's a good goal for him.
That'd be good.
Was he 120? He's done 120.
He's 120, yeah.
Okay, so he's got 20 kilos.
So
Rob,
he could do that. He could do that in a year.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, 140.
Yeah, 140.
Yeah.
So you got like that would probably be like episode 50ish. Probably tie in quite nicely.
Yeah. Or if he has to do the 140 on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then if he lifts it, he can continue with the podcast, and if he doesn't, he has to leave.
I feel like I got to respect my dad if he comes on.
No,
like,
totally. Yeah,
like by having a podcast format and knowing what we're doing.
Yeah, we'll all have topics and stuff. He's lived a pretty extraordinary life, isn't he? So just even talking to him would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
I think the guest ones might be longer than an hour too.
I think they should be 2 hours probably, maybe.
Or just like however long they go on for.
Yeah. Just keep them going.
Yeah, but anyway, we got a lot. We're in that stage now. What you've caught us in is, first of all, remember, it's now an hour and 30 minutes ago. We decided to do this an hour and 30 minutes ago, and we are now wrapped with the first episode of our
Two Beasts podcast.
Of our Two Beasts podcast.
Two Beasts podcast.
We come up with the name Live. This is, if we can just do this for 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Whatever comes at the end of it, even if there's like one viewer.
Yeah.
Like one. If it's you.
Yeah.
If you are watching
You're
this.
listening to this right now.
This is an incredible thing that I'm proud of.
Yeah. If we were at 100 episodes and there's one person, and you out there, that one person has put more than 100 hours of your own life and your own time into us.
Oh my God.
That is...
if you put
big
this
up, man.
hour,
or
I'd be
even if you
impressed.
just listen to this hour and a half. Yeah, I mean, that's some... What you could do with an hour and a half of your life is pretty impressive.
know.
Isn't it? So, yeah, to take that time out is we appreciate it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hopefully this was an enjoyable, as far as first episodes go, hopefully it was enjoyable. We talked about a bunch of stuff, and what we're going to do now is go away and figure out, we'll maybe do the fun stuff, like doing the logo and stuff everyone gets bogged down in for hours. And
we need to come up with some topics and some questions.
come up with some topics and questions. Next time we'll
have a bit more formality next time, I think.
We'll start off by telling you what we've come up with in the time where it hasn't just been a novel idea that we've come up with straight off the bat.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Let's
Psyched.
cut there. Beautiful. Thank you for listening to the Two Beast podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast on whatever your preferred platform is. We'll see you next time. All the best.